Hello, hello. Welcome back to the podcast. It's your girl, Kamie Crawford. And today we have a man that you can trust. There's not a lot, just FYI, but this one you can trust. Today we have Matthew Hussey. He is a New York Times best-selling author, speaker, and coach specializing in confidence and relational intelligence. His YouTube channel is #1 in the world for love life advice with over 500 million views. Matthew, welcome to the show.
You have a good podcast voice.
Thank you.
You
So do
started,
you.
You started and I thought, this sounds like a podcast.
Thank God. Could you imagine if you were like, what the fuck is this? Who booked me for this?
No, you know, some people, they have great podcasts, but it's not like they sound like they have
right.
that voice. You have a
Yeah.
great voice for this.
Thank you.
Yeah. It's good to be
Wow.
here.
Thanks. I'm so glad because I have seen so many of your videos come across my FYP, especially when I was like going through my breakup and really down bad. You were the voice of reason
Yeah,
for
well,
me.
people can be, that you can have people you've never met be life-saving for you in those moments.
Isn't that so true?
Uh-huh.
And I feel like we rarely get to meet them. And so I'm happy to meet you.
Yeah, well, they say don't meet them, right?
Right. I actually
I'm
do say
hoping
that.
it will be a different experience.
I actually do say that.
than
Never meet
that,
your idols.
That idea. No, but I'm really happy to meet you, and I'm truly happy that they were helpful to you in that time, because
Yeah.
that's the you know, I think someone often assumes that for someone like me, the holy grail is someone coming up to you and telling you that they found love
Yeah.
as a result of your work. And
Yeah.
of course, it's lovely when that happens, but I'm equally happy when someone is like, it really helped me through the worst time of my life, or I left someone because of your work,
Right.
which is just
Right.
as much of a win as finding someone in so many people's cases.
Yeah. Yeah. Or I resisted the urge to text him back because you gave me the confidence to
Yeah,
not.
because that, by the way, that might have saved that person 5 years of their life.
Yeah. Yeah.
That not texting back or not engaging might have saved that person years of their life.
Right. Oh, that's so true. Wow. You're doing life-saving. You're doing Lord's work out here. Truly. But I know, so first I want to ask you how you even got into this space. Because I often say, someone asked me recently, like, do you consider yourself to be a relationship expert? And like, if so, why? And I was like, well, for me, I just talk about relationships a lot. So, you know, it tends to be these days, if you talk about something enough, you then are bestowed with the title of an expert. But you have been doing this for way longer than I have. How did you get involved in the love space?
I was very, very passionate as a teenager about self-development, not necessarily kind of primarily relationships, but you know, the first book I ever read that was a self-development book was How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie.
Is a fucking amazing book. I don't read a lot, but that book I have.
It's one of the real like grandfathers of so much of what we see today.
Yeah.
That book. And I picked it up because it was on my dad's bookshelf, and I read it at 11 years old. And that, you know, I always say what I talk about these days is relational intelligence. And now that I think about it, I'm only making this connection now on this podcast, but the
Revelations.
that was my first, like the first book I ever read in this area was like my introduction, not just to self-development, but to relational intelligence. This idea that you can deal with people better, you can have a different kind of impact than the one you've been having so far.
Yeah.
And that was a revelation for me, because I was both, as a kid, I was an introvert, but I was also very shy. And that was a tough combination, because it meant that so often I didn't talk to the people I might like to talk to. You know, I'd become tongue-tied. I would censor myself a lot. I would worry about whether I was saying the right thing. And of course, as a teenage boy, that really translates to your love life in some difficult ways, because, you know, I had 1 or 2 girlfriends growing up, but they were kind of people that chose me. They weren't people that I had decided I really would like to date this person.
Yeah.
It was like someone came along and said, my friend really wants to date you. And I didn't feel like I had the confidence to go and talk to the person I would like to go out with. So I was like, well, I guess if I don't say yes to the people that come to me, nothing's going to happen for me.
Oh my God. But I bet the people you were trying to date, or like the people who had crushes on you, were probably like, he's so mysterious. Like he's so mysterious.
Yeah, maybe.
Does he like me? I don't know. I think he likes me. And meanwhile, you're just like Very shy.
I
Also, it
was.
is an excuse.
I don't know if I looked cool enough to come off as mysterious, but I like that
Yeah.
rewriting of history for
Yeah.
myself. But no, so I, in that sense, I found it challenging. And, then when I got to 18, 19, I had started to improve my own confidence and I'd started to get a little braver
Mm.
and I started to help other people do the same. And eventually women would say to me, why aren't you doing something like this for us? Like you've
Mhm.
done it for yourself. You've helped a lot of guys. Why aren't you doing something like this for us? And the truth was I didn't feel like I had a lot to offer. And then the more I started to understand some of the issues that women were experiencing and some of frankly, the excuses they used as to why they weren't able to meet the men they wanted or they were
Mhm.
struggling with the guys that chose them, the more I started to relate, actually. I started to
Mm.
go, oh, well, I feel like the things you're describing are quite similar to what I'm experiencing. Like you're
Yeah.
settling for people who are choosing you instead of choosing the people you really want.
Yeah.
You feel like there's not enough options in your love life. And so I started with a kind of what's now become almost a cliche thing that I have said for so many years, but I started with this idea of the handkerchief that when women I would say, like, I need to get women to be more proactive because I feel like they keep settling for just bad guys or guys that don't treat them well or guys that they don't really like because they don't have enough options. So if I could just get
Mm.
them more options, I feel
Mhm.
like they'll make better choices. That was my
Mhm.
theory at the time. I was
Yeah.
wrong, by the way. I was wrong, but that was my theory. So
Yeah.
I said, okay, I need to get them to be more proactive. How do I do that? And what I realized is when women would say to me, I am old fashioned, so I don't make the move. But I
Mm.
knew that them not making the move meant that they weren't choosing the people they wanted. They were just waiting to be chosen.
Yeah.
I would then say to them, well, actually, old fashioned isn't never making the move. Old fashioned was a woman 100 years ago walking past a guy and dropping her
The
handkerchief.
handkerchief. You know what's crazy? I'm on Gilded Age TikTok right now, so, like, I'm just getting bombarded with information like this and, like, the dance card and the flirting, like, cards that they would exchange
Mm.
and the handkerchief. So when you said it, I was like, "Is he talking about when women used to drop their handkerchief in front of the guy they liked to see if they would pick it up and offer it back to them?" That
Mhm.
was, like, early age liking your picture.
Correct. Correct. And by the way, he thought it was his idea. Because she
Ah.
made it look like it was an accident. So
Yeah.
he'd pick it up, he'd walk it over to her, and he'd say, "Madam, you dropped this." And she'd
Yes.
say, "Did I?" And then they'd have a conversation that he thought was his idea,
Yeah.
but it wasn't. It was hers. She
Mhm.
chose him, but she let him feel like he was the one doing the work.
Yeah.
And so I would say to women at the time, this is going back like 17 years now, I would say to women, what if I could show you how to drop the handkerchief in the modern era?
Mm.
So that you didn't have to worry about seeming or feeling desperate or suddenly making the first move. You just were choosing the people you wanted.
Mm.
And they were
Mhm.
still in some way having to come to you. And that was like almost the initial metaphor that made my work very popular because people were like, that sounds amazing. And it was very practical. And at
Yeah.
that time, I feel like there was a lot of very generic advice out there for people's love lives that people were kind of tired of hearing. And I came along and I was like, here's what you can actually do.
Yeah.
People really enjoyed that. What I didn't account for is I was right on one level. What I was showing people and all the practical things that I was showing people through my videos over the years, and those went crazier than I ever could have realized. Like
Mhm.
500 million views was something I never imagined I couldn't even wrap my head around that.
Yeah.
But while everything I was doing was getting people much more options, much more activity in their love lives, and better choices, I still found people making
The wrong
bad
ones.
choices.
Well.
And I was like, so something about this theory isn't right. I'm
Mm.
missing something. And in the last 10 years, I've been on that journey to figure out what is going on with us that we seem to find it hard to resist making certain choices that keep hurting us, that keep pushing love further away, real love, that
Mm.
seem to make that relationship that we've always wanted a constantly receding horizon. How do we actually start to do the things that will bring us the love that we've always wanted? And so this book that I've just written, Love Life, comes 10 years after my first book.
Mm.
And it's really for anyone who wants to find love, but it's about the deeper reasons why it is we find ourselves struggling in this area and what we can do about it.
God. See, of course, you got to read the book to figure it out. But I'm like, what is it? Like, what did you find out? Like, what is the biggest takeaway, I guess, of why people make bad decisions in their love lives?
So I'll come at that from two places. On a present day level, we're chasing the wrong things. I'll give you an example of this. In any relationship or in any relation with another person, there's 4 levels of importance. The first one is admiration. And this is just where you see someone you like for some reason. Doesn't mean there's anything there between you. You just see someone that has qualities or a face that you like.
Yeah.
The second stage is mutual attraction. And we might call this connection. We might call it chemistry. But both of you are experiencing each other in some way and feeling some kind of mutual pull towards each other. Now, we can all probably recognize, well, perhaps not all of us. The first level, admiration, isn't that important, right? It's like there's nothing there. It's just a person that you think highly of or you're admiring in some way. The second stage, mutual attraction, feels really important to people because it feels special. And a lot of us don't get it that often.
Yeah. I never get it. Like, it's very rare that I see someone and I'm like, oh my God. Like, it's, and all of those people have become people that I've actually dated because I don't, and it's a small number, but I just don't get that feeling. And that's why, I don't know if you watch Love is Blind, but like, there's a whole conversation going on right now about like, is love actually blind? Because clearly physical attraction does play a role in our connections with people.
Yes.
And choosing to be in relationships with them.
Yeah. Chemistry of any kind, you know, some kind of sexual attraction plays a big role.
Yeah.
And when we find it with someone and we don't just feel it towards them, but we feel it back, it feels like, oh my God, this is so important.
Yeah.
I better hold on to this. How do I secure this? How do I turn this into something more?
Right.
And that tends to be where the problems start.
Yeah, because the fireworks that people talk about, like the butterflies in your stomach, which I think could either be gas or anxiety a lot of times.
Right. You're right. You're right.
Don't confuse the two.
It's why the third and fourth stage are so important, because otherwise you get stuck in the importance of level 2, which isn't that important. Level 3 is commitment. Do we have mutual attraction? Great. Are we saying yes to each other? And that isn't even the final stage of importance, because you can have 2 people who are saying yes to each other who also make each other miserable. Because the fourth level of importance is compatibility. Are you actually compatible in the way that you want to live your life, in your vision for the future, in how you want to live day to day, in the energy that you bring to each other, what you see a relationship as? And that's on every level. If I'm an enormous extrovert and you're a strong introvert, I might want to go out all the time, and that's just not your idea of a good time. And so we struggle with each other. It might be on a moral or ethical level. If you are an extremely honest person and I have a very fluid relationship with the truth, then we have a compatibility issue. We might be saying, we might have mutual attraction. We might be saying yes to each other and committing to each other. But when it comes down to it, we have very different rules for a relationship and what it means. So in order to have a long-term relationship, those 4 levels all have to be achieved.
Yeah.
And what happens typically is people get very caught up at level 2, obsessing over someone that they have mutual attraction with, when they don't have compatibility, they don't even have a commitment, and they're thinking that what they have in front of them is the most important thing in the world.
Yeah.
So we have to start shifting our sense of what's important to level 3 and level 4. Yes, mutual attraction is a prerequisite, but if someone's not saying yes, and if we're not compatible in our values and the way we see the world and where we want to go, then level 2 quickly becomes meaningless.
Yeah.
It's not important at all.
Yeah.
So that's one big answer to your question, is why we make the wrong choices, is because we're valuing the wrong things. But a big part of why we're valuing the wrong things goes all the way back to childhood.
Yeah. Ooh, that's heavy, Matthew. That's heavy. But it's true, because even when I think of, so I'm in a very loving relationship now, definitely my person. Like, we're taking that step. We're there.
That's lovely.
But thank you. But when I think about past relationships, it almost makes me feel insane and delusional. But obviously we give ourselves grace for our past mistakes or lessons. But I'm like, I really thought that this was going to work with this person. Like, this person isn't even the person that I want. Like, it maybe physically, emotionally at the time, but like, when you really think about it, is this the type of person that you want to spend your life with? Like, physicality aside, and okay, the dick is bomb, congrats, but like, that's not going to get you through years of trials and tribulations within a relationship, within your own personal life. Someone who's there for you, the person who's gonna, go get you a McFlurry at 3 a.m. when you're pregnant. And like, these are the things that I think about.
I want my wife to go and get me a McFlurry at 3 a.m. when I'm not
You
pregnant.
see? But that's like the type of person that you want to be with, is the person who's
You've
gonna
just
do
created
that.
a new standard for my relationship.
You're like, would you get me? These are first date questions.
I know what I'm gonna do at 2:59
Yes,
a.m.
yes.
tomorrow morning.
Yep. You'd be like, by the way,
I'm just gonna nudge her awake.
yeah, I
Yeah, do you
need a
know what I'm
McFlurry.
in the mood for?
Yeah, Oreo. And if they don't jump up immediately, divorce. No, I'm just kidding.
I should have
But
run this experiment before I proposed.
yes, she's gonna show up here and be like, "Where is Kamie Crawford? I need to speak with her with my fists." But like, these are the things that you have to think about, because I think a lot of times too, when I talk to like my girlfriends, people who are like in the dating space, they're just like so hung up on these, in my mind, losers. I'm like, this person is not even on your level. This isn't even like the type of person that I feel like you could see yourself with. They're playing all these games. Their communication sucks. They're clearly telling you that they're not ready to commit. Why are you chasing after them?
It's a comfort zone.
It has to be.
It's a comfort zone. It's where you set your level.
But it's also not comfortable. Like, you're the most
It's familiar,
uncomfortable. Ooh. Y'all gotta meet new people. I can't.
When there's something, we recreate experiences that are in some way familiar to us, or that feel comfortable to us. And comfortable, by the way, can be something that makes us miserable, right? But there's a familiarity. It's what we know, and it's where we've set our level in life. And that's a really hard thing to break out of. Look, again, if we grew up with a kind of love that was inconsistent love is what we know. If we grew up with someone who made us feel like we had to earn love by being something or doing a lot or jumping through hoops, then jumping through hoops is what we know. If having a parent or a caregiver who for 5 days was chaotic and unpredictable with their love and made you feel abandoned, but then on day 6 suddenly came home with a present, and you went, oh, they do love me. I'm okay. I'm safe. That you learned that's what love feels like. And so now you've got someone who doesn't text you back for 5 days, and you feel like you're going to die. You feel anxious and you can't sleep, you can't eat, and you can't work. And then on the 6th day, they send you a message and say, what's up? You go, they have been thinking of me.
No, they
haven't. Oh my God. And then you think, I like them so much. And it just bonds you to them. And that's the love you've known. And your body becomes wired for that. Our nervous system becomes wired for that. It's why you can't just escape it with rational thought, because our body becomes wired for a certain kind of experience.
So then why is it that when that same person who's dealing with that same inconsistent person that is comfortable to them, not because it feels good, but
Uh-huh.
because it feels familiar. Why is it that when a good guy comes in, they ignore him to hang out with the loser that hasn't texted them back until the 6th day?
Because someone turning around to meet them, someone being simple, someone being straightforward, someone bringing peace to their life, someone wanting them, doesn't feel like love. That doesn't feel like love.
Mm.
What feels like love is chaos. What feels like love is struggle. What feels like love is, I question whether you want me for 3 days, and then you show me you want me in this passionate message or this grandiose gesture. That feels like love. But the person who finishes a date and says, I really enjoyed that date, I'd like to see you again, that doesn't feel like love. You don't know what that is.
Yeah.
What is that?
Yeah.
And that's the problem. When you start looking for a different kind of energy in your life, you can't expect initially that different kind of energy to necessarily feel good.
Mm.
It might feel strange to you. It might feel uncomfortable. It might feel boring because it's not what you're used to. If you take someone who's been doing drugs regularly and the day that they go cold turkey, you sit them down in front of a beautiful sunset and ask them to appreciate that sunset,
Mm. Mm-hmm.
that sunset is the most boring thing in the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, when we're in an appreciative state and we're in a different place, we could look at a sunset and say it's one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. It's awe-inspiring. Oh my God. And you appreciate it and you feel connected to it. You feel connected to life. You feel connected to yourself. You feel like there's something existential about it.
Yeah.
But the day you stop taking drugs, you go and sit in front of a sunset and try and find that
Fuck
sunset.
this sunset.
You know, this is the most boring thing imaginable. Because you're wired for something else. You're wired for a high. You're wired for the lows. You're wired for the cycle. And so, that we find something initially strange, uncomfortable, or even tame and boring is not necessarily a reflection of that thing's value or that person's value, or even their value to you in the long run. But it might be a reflection of the fact that your nervous system is going to have to get used to a new kind of experience. And that takes in the beginning, it takes detaching from the old kind of cycles that you've been in for long enough that you can start to get present again, present enough to realize. It's funny, you said, I think it was really interesting when you said you look back and you go, how was I giving that person my time and my energy? But when you were in it, it was like you'd do anything to keep that person.
Yep.
Right? But when you're in a place where you're more present, when you've actually felt what peace feels like, and what waking up in the morning not anxious feels like, and what not questioning whether someone cares about you or wants you feels like, and you feel safe in your body, and you feel like you've got even just friendships in your life that make you feel safe and bring you value and feel reciprocal and mutual, then when you start to look back on that energy, it starts to give you a knot in your stomach, like, oh God, how did I live with that for so long?
Right.
But when we're in it, it's like we're in survival mode, and we think we're going to die if we lose this person, because this is love, and I can't lose love. I'll be alone.
Yeah.
So you do anything to get them.
Yeah.
It's a really, it's a hard thing to realize when you're in it, and everyone can see how unhappy you are, but you.
Isn't that the most insane part? I feel like so many people came up to me after my last breakup and the breakup before, being like, we knew it wasn't right. I'm like, where the fuck were you the whole time when I was dealing with this person? But you can't, it wouldn't even matter. It wouldn't even matter if they came to you, because you wouldn't be able to see it. I think what still astonishes me the most about being in a relationship that is safe and loving and healthy and consistent and communicative is how much you learn and have to reprogram about yourself when you're in a relationship that is like that, when you're used to relationships that are the complete opposite. Because I have shed real tears that my boyfriend still doesn't know about, because he wasn't around to have to see my like full on meltdowns in realizing that, like, okay, this is not that. Like, I don't have to, my brain doesn't even need to go to the places that it used to. I don't need to jump to the conclusions that I used to. I don't need to put up the defenses and the fights that I used to, because this is completely different than what I'm used to. This is not that. And
Yeah.
I have to, there are still times when I have to tell myself that, when my brain wants to go to, like, well, who's he really texting? Who's he with? Like, where did he really go? Like, is he lying to me? Is he telling me the truth? Does he really love me? Like, is it, my brain doesn't even have to go there, but you still have that level of, like, relationship PTSD almost, that takes you, like, well, he said he was going there, but he hasn't texted you in 3 hours. You don't
Yeah.
know where he could be.
Yeah.
I know exactly where he is because he told me. Also, I
Sweet.
have his location that he gave to me. I didn't ask.
Right, but then you don't need to check it as
I don't
much
need to
anymore.
check it.
Yeah.
If I check it
There's
now, it's because I'm
progress.
just like, "Oh, I wonder where he is. I wonder what he's doing." And, like, maybe I don't wanna call him because maybe he's at the office, but I'm like, "Oh, I wonder if he's still at the office. Oh, I'll check." But it's not, like, out of necessity, because I feel like, and I've also never shared a location with any partner in the past, because I always felt like they wanted it so that they could keep tabs on
Yeah.
me, versus, like, just regular safety, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But it's taught me a lot about the woman that I want to be and the woman that I am now, compared to the woman that I was, or the girl that I was. Like, I've just, my brain just operates on a different level, a peaceful, regulated level that I didn't think was possible
And it's
before.
amazing that, I think we sometimes take for granted how much energy that frees up.
Mhm.
How much energy it frees up for just enjoying life, how much energy it frees up for things you might want to create,
Yeah.
ambitions you may have, things you want to do in your life. It's that's one of the real, true, profound hidden benefits of being in a peaceful relationship.
Yeah.
But they're benefits you kind of don't relate to for as long as you're still chasing that old thing. And I think we all have to be compassionate towards ourselves when we find that wiring temporarily reasserting itself,
Mhm.
because it's natural. It's been there a long time.
Yeah.
It can get re-triggered. It's not a one and done thing that, now we've regulated our nervous system for life and we're
Right.
good. It can come back, but I think you can measure progress by how often it comes back
Mhm.
and by your recovery time
Yeah.
when it does come back.
Yes.
Because whereas
Yes.
something may have sent you into a spiral for 3 days,
Mhm.
now maybe you go there for 3 minutes.
Yep. Oh, that's where I'm at.
Yeah.
I've come a long
It's
way.
huge progress. It's
I
massive.
always just think, like, if he could have seen me in those moments when it did take me a long time, when I was throwing my phone and screaming into the pillow, like, "Girl, what was going on?" But it was I had a lot. I had a lot pent up that I didn't even realize was there. And I've been in therapy for, like, 3.5 years, but I just never, it took being with a good man to make me realize how many bad men had left an imprint on my heart and on my defense mechanisms. Like, my walls were up. They were up. They were so far, they were Alcatraz up in this bitch. There was no, you could not penetrate. You could not get in. There was no
Mm.
access. And
And which is,
now,
by the way, the reaction to when we don't trust ourselves, we
yeah.
build bigger walls
Yep. Yep.
because we say, I can't risk letting someone get close to me because I know what happens to me
Mhm.
when I get close to someone. It's not just that you might hurt me,
Yep.
it's that you might hurt me and I might keep letting you hurt me.
Yep.
I might not have the strength to leave. I might keep hurting myself because once I have decided I want you, then I'll never let up. So it's when we stop trusting ourselves, then we start to really push people away because
Mm.
you go, I just can't let anyone get that close again. I can't. It's not that it's not just that I don't trust you. I don't trust me
Mm. Mhm.
either. But I you know, in case you haven't done it for yourself recently, I want to commend you on having reached that point because it's,
Thank you.
there's always more to do. And we're
Yeah.
all still a little Do you swear on this show?
It's called Relationship. Have you not heard me say fuck, shit, bitch, and all of the other things?
Well, clearly I must have the mind of a sailor because it didn't even register. I was going to say we're all a little fucked up, and we're going to, there'll be more ways that we realize we're a little fucked up, and we'll keep working on that. And that's fine. But the work you've done already, that's truly beautiful, because you didn't deserve to have all of that, going into your early relationships. You didn't deserve to be going in with wiring that led you towards people that would treat you badly and take advantage. And these things, we get programmed at a time in our life where we are not choosing, where our body's just getting wired for these early experiences, and it is trying to survive those experiences and stay alive. And so we do what we can when we're around our parents or whoever it was that raised us, and the situations we've been in. We do what we can to survive, whether it's physically or emotionally and psychologically.
Yeah.
And we weren't choosing those experiences. Everything was just getting wired up. And then all of a sudden we become adults, and that wiring comes out through no fault of our own. It's involuntary, right? You didn't decide voluntarily, someone's not going to text me back and I'm going to feel like I can't breathe, and I'm going to feel like my day is hell and I can't do anything. And you didn't choose. No one would choose that.
Yeah. Or in my position, I would be fully clothed in the bathtub, weeping.
Right. This is not like
with the shower curtain closed for an hour.
That's not like
I didn't choose that.
No, that was a involuntary response to something, and we live in a kind of society where it's like funny not even funny. It's like it's the go-to for people to call, oh, she's crazy. You can't imagine what she did. Oh, he's crazy. You can't imagine. And we're not crazy. You were reacting to something that predated that person. And at the time where you felt unsafe, at the time where you felt scared, that was real to you.
Yeah.
So it's not that you're crazy. It's that what you're feeling right now is real. It just doesn't relate
to the person,
to the situation or the person or the importance of that person.
Right.
Or what will happen to you if that person leaves or if you leave. It doesn't have its basis in the reality of that, but it does have its basis in an emotional reality that's very, very real to you. And that work that you've done to start to take control of that is really, really hard work.
Yeah.
So it's lovely.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I feel very, very accomplished. I also am blessed with a partner that we can have honest conversations without the other person taking it personally. There have been situations, just a handful of times, where I say, like, it's not you, like, it's my own thing. I'm working through something. You're not, like, it's misdirected aggression, and like, I apologize, and vice versa. He's done that to me. Like, this situation triggered me to something that from my past that has nothing to do with you, and I need to work that out, and like, I love you and I apologize. It's insane what communication can do.
Oh, it's a superpower.
It's the best.
Yeah.
Ugh. Well, speaking of communication, we have some people who are trying to communicate with us about relationship advice that they so desperately need. Are you ready to dive in?
I think so.
Well, you just never know.
You made it sound like it was something terrible was about to happen.
I never know.
Who's going to burst through the door?
I don't know what they're going to say.
All right,
I don't know
see.
what's going on.
I think I'm ready.
Okay. All right. Someone asked, how do you leave a relationship you know is not right for you, even though there is a lot of love there?
Well, I'm assuming this question is not being asked. It sounds like this question is being asked in the context of a relationship that's not satisfying, as opposed to a relationship that is in some way making her suffer. So, or him. I don't know if this is from a guy or a girl, but that situation where you say there's just a lot of love there. Love isn't enough. Love is not all you need. What you need is compatibility.
Mm-hmm.
And incompatibility shows up in a number of ways. And I think you have to ask yourself, regardless of how much I love this person or how much this person loves me, are we compatible? Do we have the same vision for what we want to build?
Mm.
Can I build what I want to build with this person? If things stayed the way they are today, could I be happy?
Mm.
If it just stayed the way it is today, 10 years, in 20 years, am I happy or am I unhappy? And those things probably aren't going to get better, right? In many ways, your resentment, your frustration may get worse.
Yeah.
So I would ask myself, what is it I need to be different in this relationship to feel like it's not just one where we love each other, but it's fulfilling?
Mm.
And then if I had any doubt, I'd say, let me try to create that with them. Let me enroll them in trying to create that with me. And let me also see if there's a desire on their side to get there.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's the other thing. Sometimes you're with someone who you say, I'm not satisfied here, but you don't have someone who says, oh my God, if that's the case, let's figure this out.
Yeah.
You have someone who's like indifferent to it.
Right.
Or they don't want to know, or they want to sweep it under the rug. And that's a problem, because now you have a desire for it to get better and they don't. And that's why I think one of the highest values in any relationship is teamwork.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we encounter something like this together, we could share it with each other and we might have a real stab at the two of us fixing it together.
Yeah.
But if one person is really motivated to do something and the other one isn't, that's a whole different problem. Even if you're both motivated to fix it, it doesn't mean it will get fixed.
Yeah.
But at least you have a shot.
Do you find, I mean, I just wonder, from all of the people that you've talked to, advised, like, do people really know when they say, like, I just want to be happy, or I just want to feel fulfilled, like what that even means? How do you even pinpoint what would make you happy? Because one person could say, well, it would make me happy if my husband came home every day with roses. Okay. Like, okay. But does that make you fulfilled? Like, what actually fulfills you in a relationship? How do you figure that out?
Yeah, and I think it's what's behind the roses.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what are the roses about? Because it's never about the roses,
Mm-hmm.
right? You could buy yourself roses. Why is it you want your husband to buy you roses? Like, what's beneath that? Is it you want to feel seen and you don't feel seen right now? Is it you don't feel thought about? You feel like they work all day and then they come home and they sit in front of the TV and there's no thought for you. There's no thought for your experience. There's no thought for the relationship. Maybe what you want is, in that person's busy, busy day, where clearly their work is a major priority to them, which is fine. You also want to feel like the relationship is a priority for them.
Mm.
And the roses just for you would be a symbol of the relationship gets airtime, gets bandwidth in your mind.
Yeah.
At the same time as these other things. And that could be shown in 100 different ways. But so what is it, when you hear something like that, it's worth asking the question, what is it about the roses?
Mm-hmm.
And then saying, what does that speak to in what's missing from this relationship?
Mm.
If it's your partner is, I don't know, always late for every date, or they are constantly, they arrive on every date in a late and chaotic way.
Mm-hmm.
And it just makes you stressed and you feel like it's, it makes you unhappy. Ask yourself, what is it about this that makes me unhappy?
Mm.
Well, again, it might feel like, oh, the date is always an afterthought, or they can't prioritize that moment that they spend with me, or they don't put nearly the forward planning into the vision for our relationship as they do into all of these other projects in their life.
Mm-hmm.
And it might be for some people that lack of satisfaction is sexual, or it's in the chemistry that they don't anymore feel in the relationship. And again, it's like, okay, so and this depends how deep you are into the relationship, of course, but if you're in a relationship where there's a lot of love there, then it might be worth you saying, what is going on here?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what is really happening? Is it that we've stopped communicating about who we are and what we might enjoy or what would excite us? Like, have I stopped telling you? Have you told me in
Mm.
however long? Like, do we even know each other still in that department?
Mm.
Like, or are we pretending we do, but really we don't? We're speaking different languages. And if there's a lot of love there, then, you know, there's a lot of love there means one of two things. It either means I'm just scared to give up this love because I don't think I'll ever find love again,
Mm-hmm.
or it means there's something worth saving here because
Mm.
we have a deep love for each other and we truly see each other and we've been through a lot together. And so you have to ask yourself honestly what that's about.
Yeah.
Is it that you think there's something truly valuable to hold on to, that you would be dishonoring it by just cutting and going?
Yeah.
Or is it that that's a euphemism for, I'm not happy, this isn't the right relationship for me, but I'm afraid to leave someone who cares about me?
Yeah. Ooh, I've been there too. And it feels like it's like a guilt. Like you're like, this person hasn't done anything wrong. They haven't done anything to me personally. Like they're a good person. And I love them and they love me. So like what's wrong with me? Why I can't just be happy with this person? But
Mhm.
like I don't feel like in relationships and in love, and if we're talking about like long-term love, that we should just be happy with whatever it is that we're getting if it's not fulfilling.
And sometimes our guilt is a cover for our fear.
Mhm.
S-
Yeah.
Guilt is an easier place to go,
Mhm.
a more palatable place to go than the bigger disappointment of, I haven't found the kind of relationship I really want,
Mhm.
and I'm I'm going back out there to be on my own again,
Mhm.
and that scares the hell out of me, and it makes me worry that I'll never meet someone who's right for me, and therefore I'm terrified
Yeah.
of leaving. It's harder to truly feel your disappointment
Mhm.
than it is to say, I feel really bad
Yeah.
about hurting someone's feelings.
Well, that's the funny part of when I went through that breakup. The first part was guilt, and the second part was, holy shit, I haven't been single in however long. Like,
Yeah.
who else is out there? Like, who else is gonna put up with me? Like, who am I going to even be interested in? Because like I said, I never get that like visceral reaction. I have friends who one of my sisters falls in love every weekend. She's always like, "Oh, I fell in love last night, I'm in love," and then the next day she's like, who are you talking about? I don't even know who that person
Mhm.
is. But I never get that feeling. So when you give something like that up, it can be very scary to think like, "Oh, I'm out here on my own and this is like a new frontier and who else is even going to be out here?" But I think that the fear of the fear of not finding out scared me more than
Mm.
the fear of finding out. And so I was like, okay,
Yeah.
I have to. And also it's unfair to the person when you're not fully invested.
Well, you only have to consider what it feels like. I know I've been on the receiving end of someone else who's not sure,
Mm.
and that's a special kind of hell
Mhm.
when you can sense that it's like someone's not quite there with you. And they may
Mm.
not be saying it, but you can feel it.
Mm. Mhm.
It's a deep, deep feeling of insecurity that you have around that person. It erodes your self-esteem
Yeah.
and it makes you feel crazy
Yeah.
because you typically don't find out for sure that they've been having doubts about you until the day they break up with you.
Yeah.
And then on the day they break up with you, you you feel like, what planet have I been living on that I've been happy and you've been questioning this for so long.
Ugh.
So it's, you have to also consider that when you're unsure, there's a very good chance the person on the other side of that is experiencing that uncertainty,
Mhm.
but because you're not saying it, they're internalizing it
Yeah.
as some form of something's wrong with them. Why am I anxious? Why do I not feel good? Why do I not feel as loved as I'm loving this person? So that's we do as quickly as we can make our mind up.
Mm-hmm.
And I have no righteousness about this, because my God, the number of times in my life I took too long to make my mind up. Those are regrets I have, hurting people. But we do, anyone who feels guilt and wants to take that at face value should say to themselves, if I were on the receiving end of uncertainty, it would be a very painful thing for me to experience. And you're giving them the real shot at finding what they deserve, which is someone who's actually sure about them. What we have to live with is that they might find someone who's sure about them, and we're the ones who now are trying to,
oh my God,
we're the ones who are alone, not them, which is, often happens. We leave because we're not sure. And then, they go on to find someone else because we've made space for them to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And we're now going out into the world alone and trying to find love. And I know I used to have this feeling anytime I would leave something that didn't feel right, I would have this sense that I was going to be punished for it somehow. I would have this sense that there is some kind of punishment for me letting go of someone who loves me so much, who, and I'm not happy. This is not going to end well for me.
Yeah.
But I think there's no easy answers to these things, but I know that my wife today, there is a kind of bond there, and in some really fundamental ways that are important to me.
Mm-hmm.
I am so happy that I made space for that to happen.
Yeah.
Because I really would have missed out on the greatest experience I've ever had of a relationship. I would have robbed myself of that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that hopefully we get to a point in life where we start realizing some of the things that we've been chasing that aren't important.
Mm-hmm.
And we start realizing some of the things that are really, really important to us. Like, I know my connection, my intellectual connection with my partner, where we could talk about anything,
Mm-hmm.
and laugh about things together, and we can just talk. We can talk, and it's always interesting, and she's always, whatever it is I'm doing, she's quick on the uptake, and vice versa. There's that, to me, is like become one of the things that's most sacred to me. It doesn't matter what level of attractiveness anyone in the world was, if I didn't have that, it would have been a really lonely experience for me.
Yeah.
Being in a relationship. And I think when you know that, you realize, like, oh, this has to be prioritized as one of the most important things in the world. But what's hard is sometimes I think we're following our ego without realizing it. We're not following what will make us happy. We're following what will satisfy our ego.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what a lot of people do. They find someone who's like, looks the part,
Yeah.
has a certain amount of cachet or success or status or something. Or is super charismatic, or there's something about them, the way they are in a room, the way they are with other people. And our ego says, hold on to this person.
Yeah.
They're popular, they're cool, they're sexy.
It's bullshit, guys.
But it's
bullshit.
It's ego taking the wheel. And
Yeah.
at some point we have to go, what's going to drive for me? Is it my ego, or is it my soul? Is it what makes me happy? This person might not be like, there might be people you've brought home in the past who, your friends are all like, I mean, this person's so hot, good for you. And that feels really good. And it makes you feel like you should hold on to that person.
Yeah.
But the person that you bring home, and the first time everyone's like, they seem like a really nice person. Like, that might not satisfy your ego as much.
Yeah.
Right?
Like, he treats you really well.
I remember when I brought home someone and you said they were gorgeous.
Yeah.
Oh my God. You know, like you were swooning.
Yeah.
But that person maybe turned out to be the most hellish relationship of your life.
Right.
And meanwhile, you've got someone that, you know, everyone doesn't swoon the moment they walk into a room, but guess what? They make you happy.
Mm-hmm.
You feel good around them. You feel like, I think this is always an important question. Who, when I'm around them, do I feel more of myself?
That's the most important thing. That's the most important thing. I remember when my now boyfriend and I got together and I was describing him to my sisters. I was like, I just feel like I can be who I am when I'm with y'all with him.
That's a huge sign.
Like I can be my weirdest, most creepy, whatever. Like my sisters and I we're weird. Like we're fucking weird. There's 6 of us. Like we're crazy, kooky, screaming, singing weirdos. And I can be that with my boyfriend and he joins in. And then when they met him, they were just like, he just fits. Like he's just like, it's like he's always been here. And that to me said a lot because I've always felt like in relationships I've had to hide or dumb down certain things or, you know, like just be a version of myself that I thought somebody else would like. And that's not sustainable. That's not sustainable. And that's not really what love is about. Especially not like when we talk about unconditional love or like love that can, you know, withstand the tests of time. Like that's it's something different.
Well, we want to be seen.
Yeah.
Like that's the I think one of the most important things is we want to feel seen by someone.
Mm-hmm.
And that means that's incumbent on us to share things because that's how we get seen.
Yeah.
Is to actually share parts of ourselves. But then when we feel acknowledged for those parts and we feel like the person opposite us understands those parts of us or learns to understand those parts of us and accepts them, that's like, I mean, that truly is the greatest feeling on earth.
Yeah.
It's the feeling I'm most grateful for, honestly.
I feel like, first of all, there's so many other questions here, but
sorry, I probably went on too long for that first question.
You gave us so many gems that I feel like people, if you listened once, you need to rewind and listen again because there's just so much good in everything that you were describing and like building your own self-confidence and getting out there in the first place. Like we have to get to a certain point where we feel good about ourselves so that we can attract what it is that we really want. And I feel like you answered everybody's questions because that's what it all boils down to. That's what it all boils down to. So, Matthew, can you tell everyone where they can find you?
Yeah, well, the big thing for me right now that I'm proud of and excited about is my new book. It's called Love Life: How to Raise Your Standards, Find Your Person, and Live Happily No Matter What. And it's 10 years of my work that has gone into this book. I think that, you know, I've been doing this a long, long time now, and I've seen a lot. I've seen patterns in why it is that people struggle to find love. I've seen what makes them so unhappy along the way while they're trying to find love. Because of course we don't want to have to wait until we find love in order to experience joy and happiness.
Yeah.
Even if we're honest about the fact that, hey, my life would be even better if I met someone amazing. It's okay to say that.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with that. We don't have to go around life pretending that I'm just as happy no matter what. It's like, it's okay. The final chapter of this book is called Happy Enough. Because I really believe that the key is not for you to be blissfully happy right now. It's you need to be happy enough. Because when you're happy enough, you can say no to the wrong thing. You can be brave in taking risks because you know that even if they don't pay off, you're still happy with the home you've built for yourself in your life and what you've created and who you are. Happy enough when we do find someone amazing allows us to be ourselves in that situation instead of suddenly becoming something else that overgives and tries to please and pushes that person away because we overinvest too quickly. So, you know, this is not a book about tactics. This is a book about the deep, deep reasons why we may have struggled so far in our love lives, having ultimate compassion for ourselves about why that is, and understanding that your past does not have to equal your future in this area, no matter how broken you may feel, because that's what happens, right? We all want to find love, every single one of us.
Yeah.
And we're in a world now where we're shamed a lot for wanting to find love. We're made to feel desperate. We're made to feel like what's wrong with you? Just let it happen. Focus on your career. Like, why you focus on other parts of your life? Why are you so desperate to find love? And it's like, well, because I've always wanted to find love, or because
Yeah.
it's always been my dream to get married, or it's always been my dream to have a family. And what happens is people, feel like with every failed relationship or every person that ghosts them or flakes or fades, every disappointment not only is its own kind of heartbreak, but it's confirmation that it might never happen for me. And then people watch their friends pair off, and the room seems to be getting smaller around them, and there seem to be less people, and they feel more invisible as time goes on, and they truly start to panic, because they feel like, oh my God, this thing that I really want for my life may never happen for me. And what's more, I'm made to feel desperate or shameful if I talk about how afraid I am that it may never happen for me.
Yeah.
And so we live in this place of such pain and quiet suffering and chronic loneliness that has a massive impact on our life. It is like this, it can feel like this absence at the heart of our lives. And I wrote this book to speak to people who are experiencing that, and to be a comfort for them, and to let them know that it's okay, that it's okay to want to find love, that there's nothing inherently wrong with you.
Yeah.
That what's required is a compassionate and loving approach to where you are right now. And that there are things that you can do and ways that you can approach things that will actually change the results that you're getting, and at the same time allow you to feel more peaceful and more happy in the process. And I think people are going to finish this book really feeling like they understand themselves on a whole different level, that they are able to connect to themselves in a whole different way.
Yeah.
And not feel like they're broken, and not feel all this regret that it hasn't happened yet, or that they feel like they're behind.
Right.
But instead they'll be able to start today again from a place of peace and acceptance and compassion, and even excitement for what is still to come. So the book is called Love Life. It's available at lovelifebook.com. You can get it through Amazon. You can get it through Barnes & Noble. All the links are on that site. One of the really cool things we're doing for everyone who buys a book is I'm having a big live event on the 4th of May.
Oh.
And we're going to be, it's going to be virtual. So people will be coming in from everyone. The only way you can get access to this event is a book. The book is your ticket to the event. And when you go to lovelifebook.com, you'll see a place where you can just enter a confirmation code from your receipt, wherever you bought it. And we'll email you the ticket to that event, and you can come join us. It's going to be a really, really great event. My wife, Audrey, is going to be there. It's going to be really special. We're going to help a lot of people that day. And like I said, this is an exclusive live event just for everyone who's got a copy of the book. And that's at lovelifebook.com.
I feel like a better person after this moment with you. I do. I just feel so at peace and proud of myself. So thank you.
I feel it too. And I think you should.
you.
I think you should, because it's clear to me that you've been on a journey yourself.
Yeah.
It's clear to me that there's a lot that you've learned, and no doubt will continue to learn. And these are really beautiful realizations, because I look at you, I've coached so many people in my life. It's crazy to me the number of people I've now worked with, whether it's in live events or one-to-one or on my retreats. And when I look across at you and you tell me about the realizations you've had, it's both, it makes me so happy and it breaks my heart all at the same time, because you didn't deserve to have made those connections early on that led you to people that should never have had your time or energy or
Mhm.
attention.
Thank you. And if people wanna obviously get all of your useful tips and tidbits in a short form, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, they can follow you.
They can, yeah, I'm on all of the platforms,
Yes.
and my website is matthewhussey.com for anyone who wants to check that out. But I can't stress enough, I think a book is one of the best value things you can ever get from a person.
Yeah, yeah.
I hope I see people on our retreats one day or in
Yeah.
any of those places. Come see us live on tour, all of it.
Matthew, thank you so
Thanks,
much.
Kamie.
Thanks. Bye.